Nothing the screen has ever shown before can surpass the thrills of
the Underwater Kaiju from Outer Space podcast.
Created from an atomic fireball hurled from outer space,
The Underwater Kaiju from Outer Space podcast.
threatens man's very existence on Earth.
The Underwater Kaiju from Outer Space podcast.
Battles Godzilla, Mothra, and Rodan for mastery of the world. Men quake before the terror of their unleashed fury. All new, all never to be forgotten. A new high in
Visions from Monsterland. Hello everyone, welcome to Underwater Kaiju from Outer Space. My name is Jerry, and joining me, of course, is 10 out of 10 Derek.
Yes, I'm here.
And the one and only Don.
Screonk, everyone.
And the poker champion of the world, Mr. Venom.
Why didn't they just put salt on them?
I don't think it was a slug. Wrong movie. But with that being said, tonight for Visions from Monsterland, we are bringing you our first technically non-giant kaiju, but we're still talking monsters. We are talking the H-Man. Now, the H-Man, in its original Japanese name, is Beauty and the Liquid People, which is probably my favorite porno. Fuck, I didn't write down the date. It was 1958, I believe. I think it was 1958.
Yes, it was.
Yes, it is. I'm looking at it right now. Yep.
Yeah,
Okay,
58 in Japan, 59 here in America.
Yes. Now, one thing I want to get out of the way before we get into this movie came out in Japan before The Blob came out in America. They were both pretty much in production at the same time, along with an Italian film by Bava that also uses oozy slime stuff.
Caltiki.
Correct. So they all were kind of made at the exact same time in different countries. So
Yes.
none of them are ripping off of each other. If I hear one more person say that they're
It is
ripping
all-
off the Blob,
It's a complete coincidence, people. Let it
Yes.
go.
we will kill
It is
people.
It is a complete coincidence. All three productions had no knowledge of the other one. There is no ripping off in this scenario. It is pure coincidence.
Yes.
And if I hear anything to the difference, I will send a horse head out.
Because when I was doing my research, I kept seeing that over and over. People comparing it to the Blob and saying this Blob ripoff and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, did you do no research before you just started popping off at the mouth? Kills me. It really does. I hate that kind of shit. But anyway, that's what we're getting into. And this movie is a very interesting one. Because it does something that... It's like a mixture of a detective story and science fiction put together, which was actually something that was very popular in Japan at the time. And it was actually made to compete against rival studios that had been putting out... Yakuza. I hate saying this fucking word. Yakuza. Thank you. I always say Yakuza. I don't know if that's just like the trailer park in me that just wants to throw some kind of weird southern pronunciation on that.
Or it could just be you trying to sneeze and keeping it in.
Well, that's the thing. I would believe that, except I don't sneeze out most of the times. I sneeze in. Like it just hits my face and then never comes out. So that
didn't sound right at all.
No, but I'll take it.
It didn't, but whatever. Let's stop making fun of me and get into this. And I think I'm going to open up with Derek. Derek, tell me something you just absolutely loved about the H-Man.
I like the atmosphere that this film brings because you have like this gloom and feel through the detective story, and then like when we get to like that boat scene, which when we get into like the Japanese version, that boat scene actually comes at a different point in the film. But there's some great atmosphere and some great techniques used to steer like the tension building of that scene. And I also like Masaru Sato's score to this one because like some of his Godzilla scores are very goofy, but his score in this one actually fits the tone of the movie very well. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Apparently, you haven't heard the title track to the Japanese version.
Whoever created I had the idea for the ping sound for the monster. That normally should be very annoying. It wasn't. I enjoyed it the entire time.
Plus, I actually think some of the effects are very good in this for Milton. It kind of reminded me of the...
God damn it, you bastard!
Yeah, one thing at a time, Derek. You already said yours. Calm it down.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah,
Don,
okay.
he already screwed you, but please continue with what
Alright,
you were going to say.
Yeah, so that bastard took my thing. It was the special effects. You know, this is Super Riot doing something other than, bringing buildings down or building costumes. This is a much different kind of special effect. And I think he nails it. I mean, the H-Men look fantastic. They're creepy. They're chilling. There's like 3 or 4 different forms of them. And they all look really good. And I think the special effects, I hate to use the term, I think they're better than the Blob film. I think they're much better at what he does here.
I agree.
Yeah. I'm going to say this right now. It's my favorite Blob film between the 3 of them. Even including the remake.
Oh, I don't know if I can go about that with the 88 remake of the Blob. No, I can't.
I'm going better than the Blob remake. Yeah, I'm going better than the Blob remake.
Better story than the Blob 88 remake. I'll give you that. All right, Mr. Venom, what is something you loved about this movie?
Well, believe it or not, I actually... Obviously, our hardcore listeners have been listening to us for a while now know that I always have a problem with the human aspect of these movies. I just want to see kaiju fight, This movie, complete opposite. I actually genuinely enjoyed all the human stuff in here. I like the interactions, between the military guys. The gangsters were a little goofy. I mean, hopefully 50s, 60s gangsters weren't that dumb because they're just never going to get anything accomplished. But for whatever it's worth, the interaction between the scientists, the police department, the military, I genuinely enjoyed all those scenes and no kids. So yay.
I'll back that.
That's always a plus, yeah.
That is good. So for me, it was the cinematography. Some of the shots in this movie were just amazing. The club scene where they go in and arrest all the mobsters, just from start to end, that is just beautifully done. The music, the camera angles, the them tipping each other off. It was so well done. I just absolutely loved it. And then there's other things that they shot, like with this kind of ties into the special effects, but like the blob moving down the walls and everything. They actually filmed where they had a wall they could actually turn to make it move the way they wanted it to move. Mm-hmm. They basically were doing the shit that Wes Craven would do later on with A Nightmare on Elm Street, except on a smaller scale. But they were doing that. They were moving walls.
They didn't do that with every scene though, did they? Because there were a couple there that looked like it was just superimposed.
No, not with every scene, but they did do it.
Yeah, like when he was traveling like on flatter surfaces, like on the street and whatnot, I thought that looked decent, but when he was like going in and out of windows, you could just tell that it was superimposed, and it actually kind of took me out of it a little bit. It wasn't bad necessarily. I mean, for the time, it was probably really good. But, compared to the effects for the kills, which were stellar, I thought him going up and down walls just didn't look that great.
It wasn't perfect, but I still really, really liked it. I thought it was creepy enough. So with that being said, let's get into things we did not like about this film And because Derek tried to steal 2, he's going to go last. Go ahead, Don.
All right, I'm going to say whoever dubbed the singing voice for Chicago, that does not sound like her. I don't give a damn
Funny
who
enough,
you are.
watch the Japanese version. Same song.
Yeah.
Same exact voice. Same exact song. She is singing in English. And it was actually a famous jazz singer.
Yeah, well, whoever they is, the voice matching does not match the face. So
Yeah.
Better than what I had to hear in Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla or War of the Gargantuas.
I'm not complaining about the song. I'm just complaining about the voice, the tone of the voice. Yeah, it's not the song. I think the song's decent. It's just the tone of the voice does not match the face.
Okay,
Yeah,
I can
way
get behind
too
that.
deep, way too bassy.
Yeah, that's not her.
It's just, yeah. I mean, she has this little, high-pitched, shrill little voice, but then when she's singing, she sounds like Kathleen Turner. That just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, fair enough. I'll give you that. Venom, what is something you didn't like?
Oh man, you guys are gonna hate me, but I'm not a fan of the H-Man. Believe it or not, I just did not get into this. Like, I've kind of always had an aversion to these blob type movies because I don't feel that a lumbering big piece of stuff is all that menacing. You just have to outrun it. Now, I understand there's going to be situations where you're going to be trapped or whatever, blah, blah, blah. You have to advance the storyline. But it's really, really hard for me to develop any kind of dislike for an antagonist that doesn't have a solid form when he's just shapeless. And I understand that there was those times right before a kill when he would kind of go to that green humanoid form, but that green humanoid form did nothing for me. It just, I don't know, it felt cheap. It felt really, really cheap. I mean, because you're giving us these spectacular death special effects with these people melting slowly and their bodies like folding over themselves. I mean, those kills are amazing. But then the monster that's supposedly doing all of this just, I don't know. I'm sure it's an unpopular opinion, but yeah, I'm sorry.
Actually, mine is almost kind of yours, just from a different perspective. My big dislike about this is that they did not humanize the H-Man much like they did with Godzilla or Matango. You feel nothing for the H-Man, even though you deal with people who knew one of the people who are possibly the H-Man, but they don't do anything to make you feel for him. So at the end of the movie, when they could have inserted, like when Chicago is leaving the drain, they could have had one of the H-Men like raise their hand towards her and then pull it back and kind of go away. And it didn't. They didn't do anything. So at the end of the movie, when the H-Men die, you're just like, well, I mean, I guess I'm sad because I know the interpreter for Godzilla vs. King Kong might be one of those guys, maybe. And that kind of makes me sad because I really like that dude, even though he had this weird white face thing going on. Can he just be in a movie without them putting tons of makeup on him, please? So I just wish they would have humanized that a little bit, because at the end of the movie, I didn't feel anything for the H-Man. I was like, at first I was like, I just wanted to see more, and then I was like, that wasn't the problem. It's not that I needed to see more H-Man. It's that I had no connection. I had no feeling towards the H-Man.
I feel that I can understand that too, because they're supposed to be us when they were infected with the H-bomb and stuff, and it turned into this stuff. So I wish there was some more human emotion towards them, you know what I mean? Too. So I can get that.
Well, I mean, you figure because you don't get an idea of how long it's been since they've been exposed. So maybe it could just be a case of, like they've been in that state for too long that they've lost touch with their humanity, and now they're just, rampaging blobs of goo.
Yeah, that's making assumptions based off nothing
I'm just saying, I'm just saying, I'm hearing that as I'm saying it, so... I mean, you could say that, but I mean, like you just said, that's just, throwing an assumption on it.
But even if they would have had, like, Chicago be like, no, don't kill them, I love him, and they kill him anyway or something, I would have been like, oh, damn, come on. Hook her up or something. Yeah. But they didn't. There's no try to save them, there's no try to understand them, nothing. It's literally, something's killing things, we identified it by sacrificing a frog, and now we're just gonna fucking kill them all. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
And it's just that it's because of that, I feel like the monster did not have an impact.
Mm-hmm.
So, Derek,
Completely.
what is something you didn't like?
Well, my major issues, some of the dragginess of some of the dialogue scenes, it gets a little draggy and kind of repetitive because the scientist does go back to the cops like 3 times in the movie and they still don't believe him that there's fucking H-Men when they see fucking people are disappearing. Come on, and they, even after he shows them the frog dissolving, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
you know,
and in the Japanese version, that's kind of fixed because they show you why they don't. Like, in the Japanese version, there's a lot more emphasis on dealing with the criminals and tracking the criminals. There's more of the criminal story that gets cut out.
Yeah.
And so, like, they're blowing him off because they're like, dude, we have to focus on real criminals here. Like, these people have heroin and they're killing people. We have to figure this out. But when they cut that out of the movie, it does exactly what Derek says. He's like, dude's come to you 3 times. He's shown you proof, everything, and you're still not believing him.
Plus, I didn't really need 2 singing sequences. I was okay with just 1. 2 of them was kind of overboard for me personally.
Oh, well, in the Japanese, there's a 3rd one, but it got cut out because the outfit a different chick was wearing was too skimpy.
Oh.
So it was too risque for America in 1959. So it was edited out. Yeah.
So the woman walking around the sewer in her slip wasn't risque enough?
No, it's the scene it's mostly the bottom the chick is wearing is much smaller, so like more of her ass is hanging out. And she's on the floor doing her thing. And there's also like a shot of like when the dancer that gets killed by the H-Man, like there's, instead of like kind of showing her top, they show her bottom, which I guess was too risque. I
did feel that scene was kind of choppy.
Yes. And really, those are the big differences, because I ended up watching the Japanese version because I was just curious of how different they were. Really, the 2 big differences are the crime stuff, the detective stuff is mostly cut out. They also like for instance, when they go and get Chikako, whatever the fuck her name is.
Shitako.
Yeah, Shitaki.
She could be in my taco.
When they go to her house and they take her away, one of the things they bring up to her, they're like, "Oh, you own a TV. How can you afford a TV?" Because in 1958, a TV was very expensive to have in a home.
Especially when you're a woman.
And they're trying to say your drug dealer boyfriend bought all this, but she was like, "No, bitch, I'm a famous entertainer. I bought it. All this nice stuff I have, I bought it. I make money." And then like when they bring in that guy who had his locker broken into, the interrogation scene in there's racism that's taken out because he's Chinese, and they like are being racist towards him because he's Chinese. They know he's there as a drug dealer. He even basically admits he's a drug dealer and still gets to walk out of there.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Man, is it just me, or were some of those interrogation scenes absolutely ridiculous?
Yes.
Like they were pointless.
The second one with Shikakomon and
the 2 bumbling cops.
And the 2 bumbling cops that are basically just like, "You fucking liar."
Exactly.
Like, I'm just like,
"You're
bro,
a fucking woman. You're lying."
Chill out. Like, damn.
There's a lot of hate towards women in some of these early Asian movies.
There's a lot of things towards Asian women in all Japanese movies. It ain't just old ones. Okay? Meatball Machine Kodaku, I'm looking at you.
Wait till we get the Gappa.
Oh, God. But, yeah, it was just like so... If you've seen the American version, you've basically seen the Japanese version. But if you want like 10 to 15 extra minutes of more detective stuff, and the ship thing is placed in the beginning of the movie instead of the middle of the movie, and you get a little extra women dancing, that's all you're really missing. That's it. It's nothing crazy. It's not a gigantic edit. But if you want a little bit more, it's there. It works. I was more interested in the detective stuff, so when I watched the Japanese version, there's little things that you notice that are very interesting, like them talking about the drugs, them blowing, like the second time they blow off the scientist, like they are basically like, dude, the scientist is basically trying to force them to come to the docks to show them that kids are playing with the what do you call those rings from boats?
Life preservers.
Life preserver. They're playing with this life preserver from this boat that these people that I showed you earlier, said people were dissolved in, and there's radiation on things, and kids are playing with it, and they are literally like, we don't care. He jumps in the car with them and goes with them to the police station, and they're still like, we don't care, until someone shows up and goes, someone else died again the same way. Then they're like, oh, all right, fine.
Yeah. It happens.
So, one of the interesting things about this movie is that it is actually based off the same thing that Godzilla is based off, the Lucky Dragon number 5. The boat in this movie, Dragon God number 2, is pretty much the same incident. The boat was too close to a radioactive test and got infected, much like the Lucky Dragon number 5.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, no, that's a pretty easy spot to make. You can see that.
Yeah,
definitely, man.
And then the other cool thing about this movie is we get a lot of actors we will see in other kaiju movies. Even Chikako, she was in Mysterians, Golreth, and Rodan. Then, obviously, Dr. Masada, our scientist, is played by Kenji Sahara, who's like one of my favorite actors of all of these movies, because he's the main guy in Matango. But he's also been in a shit ton of these movies. Like, if Mechagodzilla's in there, he's probably in that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking, the chief of the police is fucking Sarazawa.
Yeah, correct.
Now you have Yoshio Tsuchiya. He's one of the detectives.
Yeah, so I mean, tons of people in this movie are players from all over the Toho kaiju verse.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really, really cool. But this movie is one that's really fun to talk about, but I feel like they missed a lot of opportunities to say something, to have something cool to talk about, because like
it didn't have the message like the other ones did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really good sci-fi detective movie, but there's nothing to elevate it. Now, I'm not sure how it lands in the Vapor trilogy, the Slime trilogy, however you want to call it, with the Human Vapor, and then what's the third one? Something Telligin.
Secret of the Telligin.
Secret of the Telligin. That's it. And if I'm correct, Human Vapor and Secret of the Telligin, they don't actually have proper U.S. releases. So
Human Vapor, I think it was only released theatrically when it came out, but I don't think Telligin ever got a release.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Telligin didn't get a release at all.
Yeah,
because that's one that I've never seen. Like I have a copy of Human Vapor, but I do not have a copy of Telligin. So that's one I still have to try to hunt down. But so there's not really that much more we can say about that, but I will open it up. Does anyone have any last thoughts they want to say on the movie?
You know, if you're not looking for something with like an overpowered message, I still say check it out. It's an interesting enough story with the detective angle that keeps you enough interest going throughout it for viewers of classic like detective stories or sci-fi films for that matter.
I agree.
It kind of bothered me that they didn't give the monster a better name. Like, I understand the H-Man is based more on, hydrogen bomb testing, which I can't imagine that the Japanese word for hydrogen starts with H. So calling him the H-Man is definitely something more for American audiences. I mean,
like we said earlier, the original title was Beauty and the Liquid People. So
Right,
they never even called it that. So
Right. Like if they would have just called them the Liquid Creatures throughout the movie, I probably would have been more okay with it. But
I think that's just as bad.
I mean, it's not that much better, I'll admit. But I don't know. The H-Man, just like I said, because it's based on an English word, it sounds like it was made for American audiences.
We'll get into that kind of sort of in our Ultraman report too. I got something to say about that.
Yeah, I'll give you that because basically it's called the H-Man just because in the 1950s, almost every movie that came out that was B budget had something to do with hydrogen bombs or nuclear reaction or radiation. So it just, when it came to America, it just fell on that trend. But I will say there is something that I really do like about the original Japanese name of the Beauty and the Liquid People. Or is it Liquid People? Is that what it is? That's
kind of sounds like a giallo.
I think it's the Beauty and the Liquid Man. I don't think it's... No, it is Liquid People. They should have changed it to Liquid Man. The Beauty and the Liquid Man. I think that would have been cooler.
Beauty and the Liquid Man.
Oh, God.
Now, I also have something to say about H-Man's little noise that he was making. Now, Jerry already mentioned that he didn't have too much of a problem with it. When I first heard it, I started having a problem with it. And I think the biggest part of it is just because you don't know where it's coming from that first scene. You just hear it. They don't show the H-Man in the very first kill, so you're kind of a little bit lost. So it was annoying me. But once they established, that it was kind of a precursor to an H-Man attack, I'm like, all right, I can, and it was less annoying. Like it's not like it was grating on my ears by any stretch throughout the movie. But
it's like Creature from the Black Lagoon. Every time he's on there, you hear the da-na-na-na.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Or Jaws and its theme. Like, it definitely plays on that. But it's so odd.
So then that leads me to another question then. So was that sound effect a musical sting? Or was the H-Man making that sound?
No, I think it was a musical sting. I don't think the H-Man makes sounds.
See, throughout the whole movie, I'm like, why is he doing that? Because, literally all the way up until the final kill, right before he kills somebody, you hear that noise. Yeah. But then in the sewer, after he kills the gangster guy, and he goes to try to go after, a Chimpokomon, the sound effect just stops. The sound effect just stops, and you never hear it again the rest of the movie. So I'm like, that's confusing.
Yeah, no, that's what kind of makes me think it is, because like you said, when Chipotle's down there in the sewer, you don't.
Oh, fuck, I'm dying.
That's what I'm saying is that you don't hear it. So you just hear like the blurbling, like the gurgling noises that it makes beforehand when it's like retreating out of the room. Right. So I think that would be its natural noise, and then that musical sting that you hear, that clicking sound, I think that's got to be the musical sting.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense because Sato's more of a percussion composer too. He has a lot of percussion bass in his compositions.
Yeah, and like I said, you can tell when you see it like leaving rooms, you can hear like that gurgling sound.
Sure.
I think that would be its natural noise. Because that's more of like an organic. That's more organic, and then that clicking sound. That's like much more.
I thought that was his I'm satisfied noise. Like he would always make that noise after a kill. So I was like, oh, that's him digesting, or that's just like his equivalent of that was good.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That slime could have hidden out in that club forever because no one in that club is going to be suspicious by hearing those gurgling noises.
Well, it took them.
They're just going to be like, oh, I know what's going on.
Well, it took them how long to notice the gunshots in the room up above them?
Yeah, because of the drum solo.
That was a sweet drum solo.
Actually, that wasn't bad.
Yeah. I was just waiting for you, Jimbo, to fucking pop out and just slice fucking liquid people. I was just saying that because the guy who composed all the Kurosawa like samurai movies.
Oh, I love Sanjuro and Yojimbo.
Yeah.
Those are like my favorite Kurosawa flicks.
Well, there is one that I was kind of confused on. Now, I don't know if this is acknowledged in the Japanese, but why were the blob men attacking the gangster specifically?
So they mentioned something about or do they? I can't remember if they mentioned something about this or not, but what I always thought was like there's got to be at least a little bit of consciousness left, especially for but no, they do, because they mentioned the reason they came to Tokyo is because they're from Japan. So they're coming back to Japan because they have a little bit of consciousness left. And so
but I'm saying is that when you notice them before, all of their attacks are against the gang members.
Exactly, because he's the first person on land in the movie to die.
Misaki.
Not on the boat, but on land.
Yeah.
Him. And then after that, it's the next person who dies is a gangster. And so it's literally going after the gangsters because that's what it's remembering is I remember gangsters, go to gangster. It's going to the people it remembers.
Yeah,
so
it kind of gets a collective memory.
I don't necessarily think it's like targeting the like gangsters as much as it's reaching out for people it used to know.
But then there's no real connection between the gangsters and the ship because nobody remembers the ship when they're interrogated.
Well,
that's true. That might just be them coming to land and traveling in water, and he just happened to be the first person.
Yeah.
I don't know. I
don't know, because the first person they attack on the land is a gangster or a smuggler that works for the mob, so that's what sets it off.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that the first one is Misaki, the next one is the gangster that threatens Chipotle, and then
I think it's one of those things where to have a movie there has to be something that you just don't. There's no connection to. But it just has to happen. So that first one attacks Misato or whatever the fuck his name is, and he then starts targeting the people he knew, which happened to be gangsters because he himself was a gangster. So him getting targeted, pure coincidence. That's just has to happen to make the movie. That is something that you just have to accept, like in most movies when you're just like, oh, well, if he would have just done this from the beginning, the whole movie would have been over. Yeah, but then there wouldn't have been a movie.
I guess.
That's a pretty common thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe like targeting somebody like outside of the gang, even if they're not going to kill them, maybe just like attack them once.
But then you're going to have, why did that person attack a gangster? Like, it's the same thing. They're just cutting out the middleman.
I guess, yeah.
It's just one of those things you just have to accept because it's a movie.
Yeah, it just keeps the story going and why they're doing the investigation and find out what's going on,
I think it's merely because he was standing in the road next to the sidewalk, and sewer drain, so you have water rushing down that way, and the H-Man slime or whatever is rolling in that water down, and he just happened to be the first person to step in its way.
I want to cross over with the H-Man versus it.
You'll all float down to, what the fuck is that? Ping!
That'd be great.
Oh my god. Alright. So, I think we all give the H-Man a thumbs up. It's not going to blow your mind, but it is a really good watch, especially for a late 1950s sci-fi flick.
Yeah.
So, with that said, we are going to go into the Ultraman report. Alright, we are going to episode 7 of Ultraman, the Blue Stone of Baradi?
Valarge.
Balarge? Where do you get an L in that?
No,
Valarge.
Barrage. B-A-R-H-A.
I'm going off of the American DVD release. They call it Valarge.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, and, when they show this all the time. August keeps calling it Valarge, so I'm going with him.
Yeah, well, I'm just
I thought you were saying Barrage.
Yeah, I'm going to say this right now. This has to be the worst audio for an Ultraman episode ever. I don't know what the fucking town was called. I don't know what the princess's name was called. Like, literally.
Did we even get a name?
I could not fucking understand half the shit that was being said.
I didn't even remember them giving her name.
They
just thought
did.
They called her Princess.
No, she says her name, and literally you cannot understand it.
I know it starts with a C.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I didn't even know that. I just thought they called her Princess.
No,
I mean,
they say her name one time. But
It's weird. It's weird when you're watching this too. Just put it this way: when the subtitles are still going on the bottom and there's no one talking, because when you're watching the English dub, you know that there's dialogue there and there's not in some scenes.
yeah, Mill Creek did not do the best job with this, but unfortunately, it's the best we got. So we just have to deal with it. But so basically, this is how this episode starts. August 28th, 1966. Fuck, I had to cough off that last Chipotle laugh. Adam Jeffers comes to the Science Patrol to seek help. Apparently, the French sent a team to the desert where a meteor fell, and then everyone disappeared. Happens all the time. No
Godzilla
one cares,
98.
though, because they're French. Hey! So the Science Patrol team, they're going to go out there, but Fuji's got to stay. So they're heading out there and they see this rainbow cone beam of light thing in the sky that malfunctions all the instruments of the ship, and they try to go above it, but it still ends up screwing up everything. The engines conk out and they crash, and Ito, who took off his helmet, hurts his head. Because Ito, if someone's going to get hurt, it has to be Ito. So no one knows where they are and they can't get a message out, so they tell Ito to stay there and repair the radio because they just don't want to hear his orgasms anymore, because him whining was a little too sexual sounding for me.
Oh God, yeah.
And the facial expressions too, like, oh yeah.
Yeah, so they're gonna go try to find the town nearby. So they're out there, the Geiger counter's reacting, they find the really weird looking odd shaped meteor, but they don't think it caused the light or the magnetic interference. Oh, fuck. Man, I don't know what's going on with me. I'm coughing and fucking burping and dying. I'm blaming Don. His Chipotle joke was too good.
You're becoming an H-man.
Oh, for real. Shit. So the Geiger counter's reacting all over this meteor, but they don't think it caused the light or the magnetic interference. So the roar in the distance happens, and the monster shows up right in front of the ship. But Ito's the only one who sees it. He runs out and tells them they don't believe it because they don't see it. Because, in this realm, it's hard to believe someone saw a fucking monster, even though we literally just went over this.
Yeah, especially after they fight him 7 times already, or 6 before.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they then find some wreckage, and Arashi decides to go down, but he starts getting sucked into a hole. And then the monster shows up in the pit, and I'm just like, Sarlacc pit, Sarlacc pit.
It kind of looks like that too.
I got that too.
Yeah. So they start shooting it, but it does absolutely nothing. Which I honestly think at this point, as many times as they shoot guns in this series and it does absolutely nothing, I really do think it's like the government stepped in and was like, you know how we have a ban on guns? Every gun you show better be fucking useless.
I love how Arashi's reaction to my favorite gun.
My gun!
Yeah.
I'm getting that shit back. So the monster then creates a wall of light that pulls all the guns away. And they're like, fuck this. They find an empty town. I cannot tell you what the town is called, even though for some reason Hayata can read whatever the name of the town is. Then they find a mountain called Arat. Now, I actually want to give them credit here. Arat is a real mountain, and that literally is the mountain that in the Bible that Noah's Ark landed on. That would be in the book of Genesis 8:4, for anyone who doesn't know. Noah landed, following the flood, Noah's Ark landed on the mountains of Arat. So that is an actual real thing. They did some research. That is 100% accurate.
I love how the
for
Arabian
Bible.
people are Chinese, Japanese.
Those were the most Japanese-looking Turks I've ever seen.
My next line after the Mountains of Arad is Asians dressed like Muslims.
Yep.
That was my next line.
I wish one looked like Saddam Hussein. It would have been awesome.
But you know what?
They went out of their way to get a French. They went out of their way to get a national-born Frenchman, but yet they can't spring for Muslims.
Hey, I'm okay with it because at least now that I get to see a white guy in the Science Patrol outfit, I know I can be on the Science Patrol. I've already got the patch. I've got the star patch sitting over there. I've just never put it on anything. So I'm getting closer. All right, so they spoke in a ancient tongue, so they can't communicate with them. But then they all of a sudden know the English word princess. The princess's name is said. I have no idea what the fuck it is. They then go into... What?
Chartam.
Chartam?
Chartham. Chartam.
That's weird.
Sounds like a fucking casino.
Hey, I need to see this in graphs. Will you chart them? So they then talk about how the town used to be a trading post, but no one came back who left. It's amazing they were able to make it there, and then once they got the shit, then the monster robbed them. I thought that was interesting. So then they talk about how the monster doesn't attack the town because of Ultra. They're trying to say Ultra, but they're adding a D or they're taking out an L. I'm not sure what they're fucking trying to say. The audio is just terrible in this episode.
Yeah, it sounded like she was saying Ultra.
Yeah. So
the long O sound, yeah.
The princess takes them to the temple and shows them it's a statue of Ultraman, except he doesn't have the thing in the middle of his chest. You know, so I'm counting points off for details.
But I was actually going to ask, are we to assume that's the only Ultraman? Like is Hayata the only Ultraman that's ever existed, or was there Ultraman before like this series?
Because I have future knowledge of where the later series go, there are more Ultraman. There's a whole planet of Ultraman. Okay. Some of them have tits.
That's what I mean. So maybe this is a different Ultraman that they have a statue for, like somebody that helped them like 1,000 years ago or something.
Yeah, I guess the ozone wasn't so fucked as it was in the 60s that he could last for longer than 5 minutes and didn't need a warning sign. Which
hey, sometimes that helps when you're going for more than 5 minutes. Okay.
Hey, me and Ultraman are completely alike. In Earth's sun, we're only going to last for 5 minutes. At least that's what I keep telling her. So he's got a blue stone in his hand, and now these people that can only speak in some foreign tongue that no one can understand, now they can also say monster. They can say princess and monster. Those are their only two words that they can say in English. I don't know why, but you know, TV.
And then we get Antlar.
Yes, so now we get like our full scene of Antlar showing up. The monster has finally come to the village. He's not afraid. And Science Patrol run up on him with guns drawn. But, of course, the monster takes the guns again with its magnetic force. And Hiato saves an old lady who's like, yo, fuck this. You ain't gonna run up on my town like that. Nah, I ain't like these other pussies. Squat up, son.
She's like Grandma from Don't Be a Menace.
She's like that.
She's got the biggest set of balls in the movie.
She reminds me of that old lady from that fucking kung fu comedy movie.
Kung Fu Hustle.
Kung Fu Hustle.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Troy.
But Hayata saves her and turns into Ultraman, which means it's time for me to pass this over to fucking Don.
All right. Well, much like I said to my girlfriend last night, this is going to be a long one. All right. Ito and Arashi spot Ultraman flying onto the scene as the princess and her concierge began praying over his sighting. With Antler still smashing the ruins of the temple, Ultraman squares off against the creature who dives under the sand, sending a plume of dust in Ultraman's face. Temporarily blinded, he begins searching for the vanished opponent, who appears beneath his feet and trips up Ultraman before burrowing underground again. When Antler reappears, Ultraman takes flight to avoid another attack as Antler dives underground. Ultraman lands and turns to find his disappearing opponent, only for Antler to appear behind him and shoot the tractor beam at Ultraman. Turning around, he grabs the pincers and begins grappling with the creature as the color timer begins blinking rapidly. Breaking off, Ultraman fires his specium ray to no effect, as Antlar charges but gets thrown back to the ground. Ultraman mounts Antlar and begins clubbing it to the approval of the Science Patrol looking on, but soon finds Antlar has gained the upper hand and rolls on top of Ultraman. Anxious, the princess rushes into the temple and retrieves the stone from the statue and explains to Captain Mira about its importance to Ultraman. And with the color timer still blinking furiously, he takes the stone and heaves it at Antlar, exploding wildly against the creature. Exhausted, it collapses against the ruins as Ultraman stands tall.
Okay, I got two things to say about this fight scene. One, why did Ultraman just randomly jump in the air just to land? Like, he jumped in the air and I was like, oh yeah, he's about to dive bomb Antler right in his hole. And then he just lands. And I'm just like,
Yes.
okay, that was pointless.
Well, I think, like I said, I think it was to avoid the attack because he saw Antlar disappear and then he got all that dust plume stuck in his... It, like, just shot up into his face and it blinded him.
Yeah.
So I think he was just trying to avoid that happening again because he dives under and then you see Ultraman jump up. So I think it was more just like him trying to dodge the effect.
My only problem with that argument is while Ultraman is in the air, coming down, they then cut back to Antlar going back under the ground. Mm-hmm. So they made it
Continuity
set
error.
up to look like he was going to dive bomb him. And then they took that away from me.
Continuity error, I guess.
The one thing he could have done right. But it does make sense that he's trying to clear up all the dust and shit from his face. Then the other thing... What?
I would say continuity error.
It could be. And the other thing is the entire fight was pointless. Ultraman being there was pointless. This whole episode could have happened without pointless because nothing Ultraman was doing was working. He wasn't even like weakening the monster. They just threw the blue fucking rock at him. It blew up in his face and immediately killed him. Ultraman wasn't needed at all.
That's the only problem I did have with the fight. I did like the aspect of Ultraman having trouble with the fight. Because we always see him come out easy, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And
I just don't understand.
He fires the ray, which usually is like the killing blow, and instead of actually exploding off of Antler, he just continues his charging at him.
I did like that he broke his fucking thing to his tusk.
His pincer, yeah. Hell yeah. But it's true. I mean, the moral of the story is, who needs Ultraman when you have a magic blue stone grenade?
Yeah, exactly. So then they go back to the princess, like, well, now this can become a trade mech again, and she's like, blah, 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 peace if we stay away from the rest of the world because of war, blah, 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 blah. And then Fuji came and picked them up, and they all had juice boxes and snacks.
That's always nice.
They did the reverse Wakanda.
Yeah, so here's my review of this episode. Because of the awful audio issues, the fight sucking, absolutely like no real mystery, because this was the blandest, worst episode so far, hands down. I would rather watch the green fucking vegetable episode again than watch this episode. I am giving episode 7 the biggest thumbs down so far. So, with that being said, Venom, what did you think of the episode?
I'm right there with you in the sense that it's not a good episode. It's a little dull. The fight was pointless, blah, blah, blah. But because I did like the design of Antlar, I liked most of his movements, his fighting style. Whereas I've had problems with other of the kaiju monsters in Ultraman, including, Green Vegetable Man, which I still consider the worst one. Maybe not the worst episode, but the worst kaiju of the season so far. I'm going to say this is probably like the second or third weakest episode I've seen so far. I'm not going to say it's the weakest because I actually moderately enjoyed it. I like the change of setting, leaving Japan for, the Middle East. I'm sure it was still filmed in Japan, but you know what I mean. So we got to see some cool Middle Eastern, Turkish specifically, architecture and desert landscapes and things like that. So for the change of pace and the cool monster, I'm going to say it's not the worst, but I'm right there with you when it comes to the fight, the audio. For those who don't know, I used to be a post-production audio engineer. This whole episode is out of sync. It's so out of sync, it's almost hard to watch. It's almost like a full second or two out of sync, which may not sound like a lot on paper, but when you watch it, it might as well be a minute out of sync. It's just awful.
Yeah,
so,
I kind of want to watch it with just the Japanese audio and Japanese subtitles to see if it's fixed there, because it's really bad. And also on the Antlar is cool until I saw his bottom half. Then for some reason, I didn't like it. I don't know why. I just didn't. I liked him when he was like, we only saw his top half. So
it's kind of the Comebus effect.
You didn't like his Goomba feet?
No, I did not. But
I was
actually. I actually like him, too. So
let's say, speaking of Goombas, Derek, what did you think?
I'm more with Venom than I am with Jerry. I like the change of pace, and just the setting was really cool. And like I said, I did like Antlar, so I will agree with the fight being not as great, even though I did like the change of dynamic in the beginning of the fight. Ultraman was kind of having a little trouble there, but I wish he actually won the fight fair and square instead of a blue grenade.
Or maybe Mira tosses it to Ultraman, who throws it at Antlar. Like that's how we.
That would have been better.
I'm just trying to figure out how the little blue ball fucking ended up killing a giant fucking ant beetle.
It's like a softball-sized rock killed a giant monster.
The captain killed. But overall, I still say it's like one of the weaker episodes that we have seen, but I still enjoyed some aspects of it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, fair enough. Don, what do you think?
I'm probably the one that likes it the most, but I'm still not completely oversold. Like you guys said, the fight's not that impressive. Ultraman's really not that needed. But I do like some aspects to this. I do like the mythology of this. You get the idea that Ultraman has visited Earth in the past and he's helped these people before. So you have this sort of like, you start getting like this weird little backstory to him that you never really thought existed. And I kind of like the special effects work. I think the destruction of the city is really cool. It's like the best part of the episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, when he comes up and destroys the fucking temple, that was fucking great.
Yeah, that's like that looks awesome. I love that set. So I think it works on that level. I would have liked it a little faster moving. It's like, it takes so long for them when they crash land in the desert for them to arrive at the village. Once again, Ito's comedy. This was one I didn't really laugh at all that much because it's kind of just, it's more like his stupidity rather than like genuine comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's more like him just acting stupid and getting hurt rather than, like genuine comedy. So it takes a while for the episode to get going. I don't mind I like the change of scenery. I like the mythology. The city destruction's cool, but then, you have the weak fights. So, I think I like it the most, but I'm still not completely gaga over it.
All right, fair enough. So at the end of the season, we'll see if this gets beat, or it seems like I'm going to get outvoted, and Green Lettuce Monsters episode is going to get shot for the worst so far. But I'm gung ho on this episode being bad. So we'll see what happens. That's it for the Ultraman report. So with that being said, we are going to get into what we've all been doing lately on other podcasts before we get out of here. So with that being said, the Man with 70 podcast. Mr. Venom, what's new in your podcast world?
Okay, the next episode of the Horrorcast, which should be recording this week sometime, we're going to be covering The Lost Boys, which the 30th, I believe, 30th or 40th anniversary just went by. 30th, excuse me.
30th, 87.
Yeah, so that just went by recently, so we're going to go ahead and discuss that. And we're also going to talk about What We Do in the Shadows. So this is kind of a pseudo-vampire episode, I guess.
What do you mean recently? If it was 87, its 30th anniversary was last year. And
Is it 87? I thought it was 88.
If it's 80, Don said 87. If it's 87, it was last year.
Well, either way.
That's not.
I didn't pick them.
reasons.
I didn't pick them. Don't give me shit for it.
Okay, whoever on the episode, shame whoever did that and tell them Underwater Kaiju from Outer Space expects better from the Horrorcast. We will not accept. I'm just kidding. I don't care.
And make sure it's not me, because I don't want Mark Nato giving me shit for liking Sharknado again.
Mark, how is Mark
Hey, I
Nato going
defend
to give
you.
you shit when he named himself after the movie?
Which is hysterical. He hates that movie. He hates that whole franchise.
So
but
what
he
is
just
he
thought-
like? Well, he was
he
like
thought the name
hipster
was
and
clever.
ironic.
I don't know about ironic. He just thought it was clever.
Oh, the movie sucked, but damn, that name was good. I'm naming myself after it. I like you, Mark Nato. I'm not sure you can fucking Alanis Morissette ironic this.
It's like rain.
Hey, don't talk. Alanis Morissette's my favorite female singer of all time, so be careful when
Hey,
you tread on that.
Yo, man, I have the CD too.
You know, it's fucking Uninvited is like one of my favorite songs of all time. Anyway, what else is going on with you, Venom? Or is that it
All right.
for once?
Oh God, you wish. So like I said, that's the Horrorcast episode. Should be out next week sometime. Should be recording the 3rd episode of Beneath the Zenith soon. Hopefully, we're just having a little trouble getting all the co-hosts together on a free night, but that should
Maybe
be
if
going.
Horror Mafia would stop making fucking 17 podcasts a month.
I don't think
fired.
it's necessarily the Mafia that's keeping them busy.
What do you mean?
they're
Half
actually
your
not-
show is Mafia.
Well, no, absolutely. But when we get together on Skype or whatever, they rarely blame the Mafia. It's not like, oh, I'm doing so much on Horror Mafia. It's usually other stuff, life stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. 'Cause Joey's a teacher and blah blah blah, and Bill does whatever Bill does. So yeah. So it's like a combination, I guess, of the weekly schedule on the Mafia plus just life stuff. So. And, like I said, we've all got other podcasts, so obviously it's just a matter of getting everybody together. But that'll be the next episode. We're going to be covering the Jersey Devil on that one. Figured out after the heaviness of the Dyatlov Pass incident, we'd go ahead and do something a little light again. So
Have you
study up on
seen-
the Jersey Devil.
Have you seen the episode of Comic Book Men where they talk about the Jersey Devil and go out there?
Nah. Oh,
It's hilarious.
I'll look it up.
It's
Awesome.
You're not gonna learn anything, but it's just really funny what they do.
If it's entertaining, I'll go with it.
Yeah, I can't remember what episode it is, but it should be easy to find.
Oh yeah, I'll find it. All right. And then let's see. Next episode of Evil Episodes presents just the movies. We just released an episode for The Nun, which was released last Friday, or excuse me, 2 Fridays ago, 9 days ago from when we're recording here. And our next episode, which should be recording in the next day or two, we're going to go over the new Nicolas Cage movie, Mandy, which, by the way, if anybody listening to this podcast has not seen Mandy and you have the opportunity to see it, I highly, highly recommend this movie.
Yeah, if you can watch
It's
Mandy,
on my list. It's on my list. It's
If
on
you
my
can
list.
watch Mandy,
I'm actually
Ghost?
gonna watch.
go see 8mm instead.
Oh,
That's all I'm
boo.
saying.
No way. Mandy is spectacular. This
I
movie
can't
is
wait.
great.
Yeah, I gotta rent it. I'm watching it soon.
It's
I
not my.
haven't seen it. I just like to talk about 8mm anytime I can.
Oh God.
Panos
which
Conlon.
wasn't a bad movie, mind you. I did like it.
Panos Conlon was host. He's becoming a great director.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, this movie, it's not my number 1 movie of 2018, but it's up there. It's probably top 3 right now. That movie was just great, very satisfying. The ending doesn't leave you scratching your head. It's not ambiguous. It's a definitive ending, a definitive, culmination to the story, and you've got some spectacular gore and
Okay, well,
amazing
leave
soundtrack.
it for your show. You're just gonna give away the whole cow here, and then I'm not gonna want any milk.
Oh no! When we get into spoilers, don't forget we do spoilers on that show. So,
That's
and
true.
there's a lot of spoilers to talk about in that one. It's a fun one. Let's see. Next episode of Rad Radio, the All 80s podcast, will be recording next week, where we will discuss a couple of John Candy movies. We're gonna do a little John Candy tribute, and we're gonna go over The Great Outdoors and Uncle Buck. So that should be fun. Oh yeah, they're both pretty good. One, in my opinion, is much better than the other. You'll have to tune in to listen to find out which one. But they're both great. for that matter. And then the last one is the Theme Warriors podcast, which we should be recording that in the next couple of weeks or so. But believe it or not, we don't have a theme yet. So we're not even sure what we're going to be talking about or what 4 movies we're going to be watching. So, look out on the Horrorphilia network for that one. That should be out the next 3 or 4 weeks, I would say.
All right. Well, let's move it over to Don for the Horror Mafia and apparently the newest member of Cut to the Chase.
Yeah, we did 2 episodes of Cut to the Chase. Actually managed to double my Quentin Tarantino filmography. They bumped me up from 2 to 4 by doing that. So, yeah, we did Pulp Fiction and then Jackie Brown. So I guest spotted on that. I guest spotted on 2 Drink Minimum commentaries. We did an impromptu version of Chopping Mall when we couldn't get a Horror Mafia episode recorded in time because Joey had to deal with his daughter. So he had to take his daughter to the emergency.
I understand that.
Yeah, he had to take his daughter to the emergency room, so we couldn't record. So I just jumped on with Gary and did 2 Drink Minimums. We did Chopping Mall because it was like 11 o'clock. It was like 11 o'clock for him, so we just wanted like a short, quick one.
Fair enough. I understand the Joey and the child thing. I was on Joey's show one time for Slice and Dice, and he had to like get off for what was supposed to be a quick moment for his daughter, and he didn't come back for like 30 minutes, and I just sat there and interviewed his actual co-host on the show. I had to take over his show and interview his co-host on the show for like 30 fucking minutes.
Yeah, so when he had to deal with that, I jumped on and did an impromptu 2 Drink Minimum, so that should be out pretty soon. As for Mafia, we just finished episode 50. We just released that. We did listener questions. We did a special segment with Cuddly Bear, Skeeta Jenkins from Puppet Master, the Littlest Reich. We got him on and recorded a special interview. And just, goofed around, had a bunch of, talking stuff. Upcoming, we are doing a Giallo double bill. We're doing Black Belly of the Tarantula and Strip Nude for Your Killer.
Oh, that's a fucking great one. It's a great double feature.
We are also going to be recording in the next couple of weeks a special segment, a special episode called Shame on Us No Longer, where each one of us presents a film that we feel we have been shamed for not seeing that we'll no longer be able to say because, well, now we've seen it. Mm-hmm. So we're going to be doing that.
I'm guessing this will be the first time where, for you on the podcast, you'll get to bring a horror movie because they've shamed you a few times for not watching mob movies.
Yeah, we're doing all 4 of us are picking one. We got pretty diverse ones too, so it's going to be a lot of fun. We're also in the opening stages of returning to our Battle of the Icons series for Halloween. We're looking, but right now the one that's gaining the most traction is Leatherface versus Michael Myers. So probably Battle of the Icons Volume 2 for Halloween.
Battle of who has the worst franchise after a perfect first movie.
Yeah, something like that.
Also, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is better than Halloween.
Oh.
For the first movies. Texas Chainsaw Massacre is better than Halloween.
Oh, wait. No, I agree with you. That's right. I didn't hear I didn't quite comprehend what you said.
Yeah, for the first movie. Like, first Texas Chainsaw Massacre versus first Halloween. Texas Chainsaw Massacre all fucking day.
Oh, yeah.
We'll see. We also have a few other surprises in store for October, including one with one of my special co-hosts here tonight. So,
God damn it, Derek.
No, yeah. Derek's gonna come on, and he's gonna give us a special twofer, because apparently he's been giving us shit, and he decided he's not gonna do that anymore. So
I only gave you one shitty movie.
You gave us 2, dude, and you gave Who Will Survive Karate Kill.
Wait. Shitty movie to who? Like shitty movie even to Don?
Yeah, he gave us Blades.
Holy
and
shit!
He gave us a film called Blades, and he gave us a film called Killer Mermaid.
Well,
Derek,
Blades. Well, Blades was requested by Bill, and I was just fulfilling his wish.
Okay.
But seriously, dude, Jaws on land with a killer lawnmower.
You gave it a 7.
I know, and like I said, Jaws on land with the killer lawnmower. We just reviewed Blades for you people. And then Killer Mermaid. Okay, a Killer Mermaid shows up an hour into the movie.
I liked it. I don't know what to tell you.
Well, that's those 2 movies, and you gave Who Will Survive Karate Kill. Come on, man.
Mr. Venom, I think this show might just become me and you. I might have to kick both of them off.
I'm down.
All right. Jesus. Derek, what have you got coming up?
Okay, just recently we released episode 20 of Cinema Attack, the Toxic Avenger franchise. Awesome shit. Check it out. With a new podcaster who wants to get into podcasting. We had him do his podcast and debuted on that. Mikey Fisher. Nice dude.
Mikey Fisher's... He's a dope dude. He watches movies that are so shitty that even Don probably wouldn't touch them.
Wow. He's the one that was trying to get Jeremy to watch a Toxic Retard, right?
Yes, he's the one. Okay, I started the trend of making Jeremy watch shitty movies, and then Mikey Fisher did it so hardcore to Jeremy, I felt bad and stopped doing it to Jeremy.
That's what I'm saying. That was him, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I think I know who he is.
Yeah, he's on Body Bags too now, the YouTube channel.
Oh, yeah. I'm so behind on checking those.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
I watched James Cox. I just put it on mute and stare at his face.
He's really the only one I actually watch on there when I do check out on Body Bags.
No, I like to. I usually do it depending on the movie. If it's a movie that I actually care to hear, like I think someone can say something interesting about, I watch it. But like, someone once reviewed The Howling and I almost unsubscribed. So,
Yeah, it's kind of like, well,
all
okay,
right,
what do you need to do?
Let's stop giving Derek shit. Derek, continue.
Yeah, that's about it. Plus, I have a surprise podcast coming up. Part of the Cinema Attack brand. It's coming out. I'm keeping us a little surprise until then.
Ooh, I love new branded shows.
And I'm also working on another podcast that should be debuting in October also. That's
Nice.
All right, well, I'll finish this up with the next Kill the Cast episode will be Horror Coliseum Freddy vs. Jason, Volume 3, Friday the 13th, Part 3 versus A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, The Dream Warriors, featuring Derek, who will be coming on to help us battle those 2 movies out.
Should be interesting.
Should be a fucking landslide.
It should be, yeah.
I don't know about that.
Well, I'm thinking there's a few categories I see should be a landslide. I'm not saying one way or another. I'm just saying looking at the categories, I think there should be some that's a landslide.
I keep my promise that I try to go in as unbiased as I possibly can, and even if I don't like something, I try to go, did they at least do it right? Was it actually still done correctly? I have to do that because I don't like the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. I do not like Freddy. But I have shown that I can. I've been pretty good.
You have been. I'll give you that. You will be. I'm going to vouch for you. You have been. I've heard the first 2, and yeah, you are.
Yeah.
I was actually surprised by the winner of the first 2 episodes. Without giving anything away, they definitely went the opposite direction that I thought they were going to go.
Dude, when you break these movies down into the categories I created, and you're looking at them that way, it's a completely different ballgame. It helps you eliminate the bias. It makes you really look at like certain aspects of a movie and where it shines, and some of the categories tie together. And it's just very interesting. Horror Coliseum is by far my favorite show we do. And so the next one we'll be doing that. Then after that, we'll be doing a Patreon show with movies that are picked by Derek. Then after that, we were actually supposed to have the second episode of Jerry Hates Action, but me and Kenneth got sick and we could not record Horror Coliseum last weekend, so we had to push it to next weekend. And then Kenneth was never going to record this weekend anyway, so he had to go on a camping trip. So that got pushed back. So we're going to do the Patreon show, because I told the guys, I was like, no matter what, before September ends, we're recording this fucking Patreon show. I don't care, we're recording it. And then the first episode of October should be Horror Coliseum, Freddy vs. Jason 4. Then after that, we'll probably try to tackle the Jerry Hates Action. We actually don't record as much in October, just because it's my birthday. I go to a horror convention. It's Kenneth's daughter's birthday. October's just not a good month for us, so we actually don't record as much. Everyone else, so many shows put out, so many podcasts put out so many great shows in October that I'm just like, fuck it, let them take care of it. We will chill. We'll see y'all in November. I have no problem with that whatsoever.
Yeah.
You guys got this. Take care of it. So, pretty interesting. And then, of course, I will try to get another Underwater Kaiju from Outer Space done in October. But if I don't make it for October, we'll definitely see one come back in November. And I don't know what we're going to do yet, but I have one that I think we're going to do if the guest is available. And if they're not, we'll figure something else out. But either way, the next episode will be a Godzilla movie, and we may have our first guest. We'll see what happens. Other than that, thank you for joining. Just a couple of poor underwater kaiju from outer space trying to give you their visions from Monsterland. Go watch The H-Man. Give that movie some love. That movie's pretty dope. You can get it in a 3-pack DVD that also gives you Mothra and Battle from Outer Space.
Yep.
Go get it. And plus, Mothra and Battle from Outer Space both have commentaries. So you can't beat that. And then all the movies look good, and they give you American and Japanese versions of each movie.
Which I was shocked when I first got it, because I didn't know that. So I was like, holy shit, this is actually a nice release.
Yeah, it really is a nice release. That is one that is great, because they've done 3-packs before. There was a Toho 3-pack early on that had the Mysterians, Matango, and Varen. You can't fucking touch that thing anymore. That's like, that 3-pack is like fucking $150, $200. Luckily, you can get, if you're lucky, you can find each of those DVDs for $30 a piece.
Mm-hmm.
If you really look. I don't have to worry about that. I have all 3 of them, and I got them for much cheaper than that because I'm awesome. And then Derek has some of those too, because I'm awesome.
I actually have all 3 of those.
You didn't get all 3 of them for me, though, did you?
No, I got 2 of them, and I bought one separately.
Okay. I bought a Kaiju lot off someone just because I wanted like 2 of the movies that were in there, and the other 2 were extra copies. So I hit up Derek, and I was like, "You want a hookup?"
It was a hookup.
I gave him bro price. I definitely hooked him up. But either way, thank you for joining us. I think we're at a point now where if there's certain movies that you want us to see us do, let us know.
Definitely.
For sure.
And always.
Maybe we'll bump those up. Hopefully not a Heisei movie. I watched another Heisei movie the other night, guys, and God, it's awful.
Oh God, I'm scared to know which one.
It was Mechagodzilla 2.
Yeah, that one kind of
God.
That thing lowers for me every single time I watch it.
That's Mechagodzilla design is fucking awful.
Dinosaurs?
We'll get to it.
Rodan design's boss as shit, though. All right, that's it. We are out of here, guys. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time.
And watch the sewers.
Later.
Watch the sewers.
Oh, the sewers.
Sewers! Oh, I thought you said watch the sewers. I was like, fucking audience do you think we have? Do you think they're all heroin junkies? Jesus. You heard it here first. If you watch Godzilla movies, according to Derek, you're a heroin user. Good night, everyone.